Good morning, Garland Nixon here. We're hanging out with Laith Marouf, and we're going to get a fantastic update about what's going on in the Middle East, along with, for those of you who haven't seen it before, I'm going to introduce you to Laith's great website, freepalestine.video. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here with Laith Marouf, and the website you're looking at, Free Palestine TV, you can find at freepalestine.video. That's right, freepalestine.video. That's Laith's site. They do English language reporting, as you can see, video right from the scenes of all kinds of violence and activity taken by the Israelis and of course the Americans. You got latest episodes here, lots of stuff on here. You got your latest episodes, field reports, military operations. If you want to find videos of military operations, of course, there's your social media links in the upper right-hand corner. Make sure you follow them on all of their social media platforms. And most importantly, the second one over, donate to Free Palestine TV. That's right. You can be a part of this important project. freepalestine.video. Make sure you donate if you can afford it. And when you donate, you'll notice it says one time or monthly. So if you can afford to donate monthly, that would be wonderful and a great help to the great work that Laith is doing. And of course, what's important is, there's a lot of people, we know times are tough and a lot of people can't afford to donate, but here's what you can do. You can share freepalestine.video on all your social media platforms. And you can, on your little post, you can recommend that those who do, just as we do here, you can recommend that those that can afford it, help fund the project. And you can be a very, very important part of the alternative media sphere. All right, Laith, let's get started. A couple of things here. The name of this episode, 12-Day War, Who Lost and Who Won. I'll say this. If the plan of the Israelis, the U.S. empire, was to separate, anger, and break up the cohesion of Iran, they sure lost that one. I watched people in the streets, young people especially in the streets, they were, and there's a way to put it, they were certainly mourning, but they were celebrating the martyrs and the contributions that they made to their society and their civilization. It was really something to behold. But you know what? I didn't see that in the occupied territories. I didn't see Israelis, yay, hooray, look at these bomb craters all over the place. Woo, this is great. No, they seemed to be angry. They seemed to be broken. So here's my interpretation of that. Iran won.
Yeah. Garland, we have now a team inside Iran, Free Palestine TV. Hadi Htait, the guy that's always with me, is already there. He was on the streets during that mass funeral 2 nights ago, and millions upon millions of people were out in the streets in all the major cities, but in Tehran specifically also. And as you said, this was a mix of all various political stances in Iran, people that are liberal and or conservative. Everybody came together to support their nation, to say farewell to their mainly civilians that were killed by the Zionist attack on Iran. And Iran is much stronger right now because of the stupidity of the empire. And as we know, the empire failed in its military objectives to do a regime change in Iran and or to defeat Iran militarily or to destroy its nuclear capabilities, let alone its missiles capabilities. So we're right now all waiting for round 2 to come. And as we look at the tracking sites that track flights, There's tens of flights landing in the Zionist colony every day, full of weapons coming from the UK, Germany, the United States. We're talking about hundreds of flights since the ceasefire was declared between Iran and the United States. So it's clear we're heading to round two. And I think this attack on Iran and the inability of the United States to achieve any of its goals have now galvanized not only the Iranian people, but the whole of humanity to support the Palestinian people. We can see the effects happening around the world. I can say one more thing, like the United States and Israel were unable to defeat Iran with their most advanced weapons below the nuclear threshold. So humanity, everybody on this planet knows now that if the United States and the Zionist colony want to defeat Iran, they will need to use nuclear weapons or cause a nuclear fallout from attacks on nuclear sites, which means all of humanity is in danger. Iran is not in danger by itself. All of humanity is in danger from whatever the Zionists and the United States behind them want to do in the next round of hostilities.
You know, one of the things I suspect also, there's lots of flights coming in. One of the things I suspect, and this is something, you know, in looking and reviewing everything that's happened, it appears to me that the damage to Israel is much more significant, to, you know, Tel Aviv, Haifa, etc., that Iran basically crushed the fabric of their society, attacked their refineries, that while they were killing civilians, very strategically, their refineries, their electric generation, their research, their military industrial capacity, that Iran was dismantling Israel, and that in 12 days, Iran dismantled the Israeli colony, and that the US is maybe trying to put it back together. And I think it's been so thoroughly dismantled now that the only thing it can do is the US can throw it here, use these, it can't make its own weapons. Its ports have been crushed. I think that in a matter of 12 days, Iran strategically hit targets to dismantle it. And I also think that the US empire as a whole was shocked at the capacity of Iran, of the precise hits it was able to make, and the knowledge that it had of what things to hit, and its ability to take the U.S. empire apart at its colony in the Middle East.
Yeah, and you know, we look at the estimated cost of just the interception of Iranian missiles, according to Israeli sources, is over $2 billion in anti-air defense missiles. This was the cost for the THAAD and the you know, David Sling and Arrow 3, 2, and 1. So we, you know, if we add upon that the actual destruction of material, weapons, and infrastructure in the Zionist colony, the bill must be, you know, in the tens of billions of dollars. So, you know, the taxpayers in Europe and North America are the ones that are going to cough it up right now to try to bring back this colony from the brink of death and destruction. And so it is right now the you know, prime time for citizens in the West to take direct action to stop the resupply of the Zionist colony and the spending of public funds in those countries on the re-weaponization of the Zionist colony. And this is why they're freaking out at, you know, groups like Palestine Action. If more and more people take direct action right now, the Zionist colony will be left defenseless, and we will accelerate the end of this war and the end of the genocide in Palestine. So people who want to do something, this is your prime moment to do something about it.
I think this also. I don't see how they survive this in the long term. For starters, I think like their big Microsoft complex were hit. All of these tech complex were hit, and it was very, very strategic to do that. They hit these big tech complexes. Now, Intel had been planning on building a $25 billion plant, this unbelievable plant in occupied Palestine. There's no company's going to put no. First of all, what banks now would fund a project there for two reasons? Number one, let's just say you build a big giant factory. If it gets hit by a missile, I always tell people, I used to be in the insurance business. Insurances have a force majeure clause, it basically meaning something happened that's out of our control. We can't cover that, and it always applies to war zones or things happens in an act of war. So right now, if I'm Intel, Microsoft, anywhere, and I say, okay, I'm going to go in now and build a plant. If it gets flattened by an Iranian missile, I got to eat the whole thing, everything. Because my insurance company's saying we'll cover you for a fire, an explosion, and all, but we don't cover you for missiles, right? What bank is going to loan $5-10 billion to someone to build a factory when it's in missile sites? So realistically, and not only that, I was reading the other day, some company just said they're not going to sell stuff from Israel anymore. I saw a supermarket now, Soda Stream and stuff. We don't do that because they're afraid of their customers getting angry, etc. And as I see it, they won't admit it. It's dead. It's dead. I just don't see a way. Let's just say this stops and this war stops, which it won't. But who's going to come back and invest money in that they know they'll never get back? They'll lose every dime. I don't see. And I'll add this. These people are going back to Brooklyn and New Jersey and Paris. They ain't coming back. They're not going back to have missiles. They're used to sitting around in an outdoor cafe, having a drink, looking on their phone, living a nice, soft, easy life, celebrating while bombs drop on the Palestinians. That's what they're used to. Now the bombs are dropping on their heads. They ain't coming back. I think it's done.
You know, you would be 100% right if the Zionists didn't control the banks and the insurance companies and those corporations. You see, this is the truth. These corporations like Microsoft and Google and so on are owned and controlled by the Zionists. The banks that fund these projects in the Zionist colony are owned by the Zionists. The insurance companies also. So what they will do is that they will spend everybody's money. Those same insurance companies and those same banks that are Zionist will risk all the money of their shareholders and their depositors, and they will take out the cost out of the pocket of those
bailouts. Yeah, us. It'll be bailed out by the government.
Yes, and they will take it out from the pocket of the little man that's put his money in the bank. Or put it in the insurance, bought insurance for himself. They wouldn't pay the little American working class man or woman for their health insurance that they paid for, but they will take that money and pay it up for Israel. This is the only problem. So those banks and insurance companies should also be targeted. We don't want to wait for them to come to their senses and actually not invest in Israel. And Microsoft and Google and Meta should be targeted not only inside the Zionist colony, should be targeted in Silicon Valley by demonstrators. We should try and attempt as human beings to stop their ability to even make money in other markets until they're brought to their knees and back into a correct mindset that actually is capitalist. We're asking them to be true capitalists and care for their investments, not waste their money on a Zionist colony because they are fascist or they believe in Jewish supremacy as CEOs in these corporations. The investors in Microsoft and Google should bring back those CEOs to their right mind and stop them from doing such a thing. And you're right about the boycotts growing and growing. I mean, you were There is now that one of the, I think the second largest supermarket chain in Ireland took out every Israeli product, period, off the shelves and said they will not be buying anything from Israel, period. We saw, Spain right now cut all ties with every Israeli corporation, just like a few days ago, and is urging the EU to abide by their own regulations, that a war crime regime shouldn't have free trade with the EU. So things are moving in ways that the Zionists cannot control. Yes, they have huge influence, but they cannot stop the tsunami of human emotion and human dignity that is now overflowing on the planet.
I think you're correct. And I think something else that I want to get your thoughts on it. The empire is going to war with everybody, and of course losing, defeated in Ukraine, defeated by the Houthis, defeated by Iran. And I think one of the things that happened in Iran, another thing that's kind of fatal to Israel, to occupied Palestine, and that is that they always argue, they want to argue that they are the dominant military power in the region. They can dominate everybody. How nobody better even dare to stand up to them. And if you stand up to them, then in comes Uncle Sam, and then he's going to clear. So you can't defeat Israel because they're so powerful. And even if you could, that Washington would come in, and then the U.S. military would, that would be it. They just clean everything up, right? And they failed miserably. And 10 days in, they had to put up a white flag because they were being turned to rubble, number one. But number two, the U.S., when they saw, as soon as Iran started saying, we're looking at closing the Straits of Hormuz, the U.S. knew that this scam neoliberal system is very, very weak, and that it would, if it fell, it wouldn't get back up. That if they closed the Straits of Hormuz and we had a downturn, even if they opened back up, once that downturn started, it wouldn't come around. You know what I mean? We got a fragile economy here. So even then, the weakness, economic and military weakness of the empire was exposed. And now you can't get that back. You know what I mean? Everyone, I think it gives people a confidence probably throughout the world that, well, these people aren't as strong as we thought they were, number one. And number two, economically, they're really, really weak. They can't take a punch at all. They have a glass jaw, as they say in boxing. Your thoughts on all of that, Laith?
Yeah, look, there is no person on this planet more cowardly than a Zionist soldier. Okay, there is nothing superior about Israelis or Jewish people than any other human being. But in fact, I would say, repeat this one more time, there is nobody who's more cowardly on this planet than a Zionist. And we see, of course, just a few hours ago, there was another video coming out from Hamas in Gaza of their fighters rushing towards a tank and putting an explosive device right under the turret of the tank, and the whole tank blowing up. Barefooted. It's not like out of the blue that they're called the diaper army. Because they have to actually put them all in diapers as Israeli soldiers before they send them on the front, because they are so cowardly. And I say this, and I think people in the United States and Europe should also understand that the Zionists in the streets of London and New York are also as cowardly. Look at the leaked conversations of the Bitar USA. Bitar is one of those ultra-fascist Zionist organizations. They were sending each other messages about attacking nonviolent demonstrators with pepper spray. Remember that Jewish activist woman that got beaten senseless on the streets of New York a couple of months ago by these Bitar activists? If they're faced with one Arab man, all of those Bitar, cowards would run away. Like in 2003, I was like 25 years old. We just shut down Netanyahu speech in Montreal in Concordia University, where less than a year away from September 11, the Zionists wanted to bring Netanyahu to Concordia University because us as Palestinians controlled the student union. They wanted to, as they said, show force at the viper's nest. That's what they called us, okay? And we promised in front of all the media that we will not allow Netanyahu to speak. And they sent on us 6,000 students showed up that day and shut down all the doors. They sent on us the riot cops and, close to 10,000 police officers. And we faced those police officers and we beat the hell out of them. 18 officers ended up in hospital that day. Okay, the Zionists themselves couldn't get Netanyahu in, and he returned back to his garbage hotel. And 20 years after that, the police in Montreal were scared to come to any Palestinian demo. They wouldn't show up in the streets. So I would be walking down the streets in Montreal, and out of the blue, 3-4 Zionists would show up and try to intimidate me. Okay, I remember 4 of those Zionists walking beside me as I'm walking with a female friend of mine and starting to intimidate us. And I just turned around and did like this. And they all ran like cockroaches. Okay, I've never hit a Zionist in my life. All I had to do is just like go like this and they'll run. So people in the streets of the United States, Canada, Europe should face off with these Zionists. Make sure that they crap their pants. They don't have diapers on. These Bitar activists don't have diapers on like their soldiers in Gaza. Let them crap their pants in front of everybody, and they will crap their pants. They only know how to kill or face off with children or women, including that Jewish woman that they beat up senseless. Look at this former Green Party candidate in Australia. 2 nights ago, she was in the demonstration, and the police of Australia beat her senseless, and now she's going to lose an eye. The police in Australia, like the police in Montreal in 2002, are cowards, and they need to be taught a lesson also. They need to feel a physical threat to them so they do not follow the dictates of Zionist politicians. Force at this moment is the only thing that will stop the genocide in Gaza. It's the only thing that will also force a retreat of the Zionist control in the politics in the West. People need to take these things seriously as our enemy tries to put people in hospital and maim people in the streets of European cities and Western countries. Zionists need to feel that same fear so they can retreat.
Here's something interesting that I just wanted to get your thoughts on, right? Settler violence turns inward. Settler violence mainly aimed at Palestinians has now targeted the IOF, with rioters torching a military post, assaulting soldiers in the occupied West Bank. Dozens of Israeli settlers torched a security site, clashed with Israeli army. It says settlers assaulted a senior Israeli army officer near the village of something else. So here is the bottom line. You have people inside now. The settlers are just, fascist, as far as I'm just straight out violent, homicidal fascists. But now they're fighting inward. They're fighting each other. This violence is, there's just madness in what the heck is going on in occupied Palestinian, that they're beating the hell out of each other. Not that I'm going to complain about it. I'm just saying I won't understand it.
Yeah, like these ultra-fascist colonists in the West Bank. The reason this happened, by the way, is because 3 days ago they attacked the most famous Christian village in the West Bank, Taibe village, that hosts, it's like a 100% Christian village in the West Bank. They went on a rampage, setting homes on fire and cars on fire, and then shooting at people as they were coming out of their homes that were set on fire. And eventually the Israeli military came in and started also shooting at the civilians, trying to put out the fires, and killed 3 Christian Palestinians in that village. So that story went around the whole globe, and it kind of triggered some of the Christian populations in the West who may have been more silent, but now are getting more vocal about their opposition to Zionism, which prompted the Israeli military to try to moderate kind of the activities of these colonists. And that's what we saw. This resulted in these confrontations now between the Israeli military and these colonists. Another thing that we should note is that one of the units in Gaza that has been, receiving some of the biggest losses over the last week, have been rioting, by the way. Israeli soldiers have refused to go back in to Gaza after those huge losses last week. And now, this is the second or third time such a thing happens. So it's becoming more and more frequent that these soldiers that may have been bloodthirsty have now realized that they're easy targets to the Palestinians that have nothing to lose. That any Palestinian who knows that they're going to be martyred, whether or not they fight back, are fighting like there's no hope. So we see now these things developing, and there's a lot of lacking out on these stories in Western media. I was watching just a few hours ago an interview with the former Minister of Defense of the Zionist colony, who was on Israeli television calling for the Israeli military not to kill so openly, in his own words, Palestinian civilians. And there was going to be a fist fight inside the studio between this ex-Minister of Defense and the actual anchor. Wanted to beat the ex-Minister of Defense for even daring to tell the Israeli military not to kill so openly civilians in Gaza. So these are the internal fractures are growing and growing. And they're also, by the way, growing in Zionist communities around the world, not only inside Israel.
Certainly. But I understand that the Shia leader in Iran has issued a fatwa. I don't understand it that well or what it means. Maybe you can update us.
Yes, Ayatollah Shirazi, who is one of the highest religious authority within Shia Islam, issued a fatwa saying that anyone who threatens the life of religious leaders, including the Ayatollah Khamenei, and or kills them, is considered a lawful combatant, and thus could be targeted and killed. And that this fatwa gives the right to any Muslim on the planet to act on it without returning for authorization from a religious leader. Meaning, let's say the United States kills the Ayatollah or some other main religious leader in Shia Islam. Any American Shia can pick up a gun and take out the propagandists in CNN that are calling for the killing of Iranian or Shia leaders. Okay, any Shia at that point can blow up a synagogue where a rabbi is preaching for the death of the leadership in Iran. So this is a warning, I believe, to try to get the Western leaders and Western propagandists, because this fatwa does not only allow the killing of somebody who did the action of attacking or killing Shia leaders, it allows the killing of anyone who supports or advocates for attacking religious leaders. Okay, so this is a warning to all the propagandists in the BBC, in the CNN, in CBC, that their life will be taken as a price for their propaganda justifying attacks on religious leaders in Iran or in the Shia community as a whole.
Well, yeah, you know, a while back, I remember when Ali Sistani in Iraq was talking about this, and I was having some discussions, and I said, you know, there's a great danger that for the empire, and the danger is that it could become a civilizational conflict, wherein the violence against Muslims gets to a point where the Muslim clerics and Muslim leaders feel that they have to deputize, shall we say, the entire civilization to defend itself. You know, that they have to basically deputize everyone who's a Muslim and say, they're trying to kill us all. We got to defend ourselves. This is what we need to do. That there is that possibility. And as a person who doesn't want to see things spin out of control and societies turn into madness and, you know, murder, I am horrified at the thought. And let me say this. And as horrified as I am at the thought, I understand the thought process that if somebody's going to fly over you and drop bombs and kill your leaders and do everything they can to obliterate and throw your society into disarray, that whatever means you have to protect yourself as a civilization will, not can or should or shouldn't, will be taken by any group. You know what I mean? If I'm sitting here and somebody says, I'm going to come in and kill you, if I got a sledgehammer, if I've got a snowball, I'll throw it at him. Anything I have, that is the nature of a human being trying to survive. And we can talk about it all we want to, but I don't think the Westerners understand that ultimately they could push themselves in a position that is irreversible and untenable if this happens, and I think it is truly a possibility.
Yeah, look, for 100 years since it's more than 100 years, 110 years since the capture of Palestine by the West at the end of World War I. Remember, all the Western media, New York Times, Washington Post, London Times, what have you, all published the headline after the capture of Palestine in World War I, saying Jerusalem liberated from the Muslims for the first time since the Crusades. So the Western media and Western elites have openly considered this a crusade, a Crusade, the capture of Palestine and the creation of this Zionist colony. And for that same period, 110 somewhat years, the Muslim peoples in the region, the Palestinian Muslims and Christians, the Arab Muslims and Christians, all told the whole of humanity, no, this is not about religion. This is about a settler colonial ideology called Zionism. We have nothing against Judaism or Christianity, Western Christianity. And we're fighting for liberation. We don't want a religious war. But over that 110 years, tens of millions of Libyans, Algerians, Egyptians, Palestinians, Syrians, Lebanese, Iraqis, Iranians, Yemenis were slaughtered in the name of the Zionist colony. Oh, huge swaths of countries, societies totally destroyed, chaos, rape factories, slave markets, made all in the name of Zionism. And the Western elite keep on telling us that Zionism is Judaism. So in fact, they're saying they're doing it in the name of Judaism. Western elite and Western media tells us that Muslims are an enemy and Islam is a threat, openly, over and over and over. So after 100 and somewhat years of the Muslims and Christians of our land here trying to convince the world and convince themselves that this is not a religious war, I think it's about time to actually believe our enemy, the Zionist, whole empire, tells us that this is a religious war against Muslims and Islam, and Muslims and Islam have to go on their knees and kiss the feet of Jews and white people, and therefore it is natural that now, khalas, it's over. It is a religious war. I can't deny that. Even if I am secular, even if I cannot deny what my enemy is telling me is, okay, after tens of millions of dead and huge swaths of nations destroyed. So I think the Zionists got what they want now, and everybody has to act accordingly to what's coming. If death is to visit the homes of our children one more time, if death is to visit another nation in Muslim world, then death will visit the children and the nations of the West also. That's the only way Muslim people can protect themselves now.
Yeah, I think what we're doing, and what's interesting is I would imagine there are people, oh, what Garland and Laith are talking about violence. What we're talking about is opposing violence. But what we're talking about is this: if you jump off a cliff, you're never going to go up. That's not the way this universe works. Jump off a building, you're never going to go up. You can go down every time. That's the nature of reality. If you push people, if you attack people, if you commit violence against people, there's only one natural thing that's going to happen, and they're going to fight back with whatever means they have. It's self-defense. And if that means is different than yours, so be it. But they're going to use what they have. And I think we're saying we'd far prefer to see something nonviolent. But as Malcolm X said, I'm only nonviolent with people that are nonviolent with me. You know what I mean? And that's the nature of reality. I did want to ask you about something happened. Now, update me. I've seen something about a band or some people saying death to IDF, that I think it was England or something. And there was a pushback from the government, and there's a whole lot going on. Maybe for people like me who haven't kept up on that, what happened and where are we now on that incident?
You see, this is exactly what you were talking about and what we were talking about. If you don't leave any people an avenue for nonviolence to change the political direction of states, then the only path forward is violence. And as again Bob Marley would say, by the way, this is I love this the song Redemption songs. Have no fear for atomic energy, for none of them can stop the time. This is exactly what just happened with the war on Iran. Have no fear for Western atomic energy. None of them can stop the time. And so, in the UK, they've been attacking a band called Kneecap. It's an Irish punk rap band, and they wanted to charge them with support for terrorism for their chants of Free Palestine on the stage. And this band was invited to the most famous music festival in the UK, Glastonbury, I believe it's called, and it's broadcasted live on the BBC. The BBC pays to broadcast this whole festival on the channel. So the BBC staff, which are all Zionists, decided that they're not going to live broadcast Kneecap performance. It's a multi-stage, festival that lasts a couple of days. Over 3 million people are on the grounds. So they cut to the second stage, where there was another rap punk band called Bob Vylan. Okay, and unbeknown to the BBC, it seems like all the artists have decided that they're going to have some messages. So no matter what BBC cuts to, it's going to lead to the same conclusion. So Bob Vylan went on a, gave a speech live, and he not only said free Palestine, but he said, I have a new chant for you. Death to the IDF, death to the IDF. And the 200,000 people in front of him all chanted that live on BBC with millions of viewers. That blew up the minds, of course, of the Zionists. They were freaking out. The prime minister, who's in the pocket of the Zionists, also freaked out. They are like, all want to charge Bob Vylan with a hate speech and violence promotion and so forth. But of course, I just want to say this man was not famous before he did what he did. Now he's a world-known name because the whole world chanted back with him on social media. Millions of posts. Death to the IDF became a trending hashtag. And the most ridiculous or actually most happy conclusion to this, by the way, is that Kneecap, the censored band, brought on the stage with them Palestine Action, which are now going to, probably by tomorrow, there's going to be a debate in the British Parliament to subscribe them as a terrorist organization. Kneecap brought Palestine Action on stage, and then this 70-year-old Welsh woman broadcasted from her phone, carrying her phone for an hour and a half, broadcasted the whole performance of Kneecap, and she got more than 2 million viewers on her Instagram feed as she's broadcasting this live performance of Kneecap, more than the highest number of viewers that this festival received on BBC in its history.
Wow.
Okay, so that's happened. And also this morning, the authorities in the UK, the police that had charged Kneecap with promotion of terrorism, because Kneecap called on people to show up to the court, the police in the UK crapped their pants, and they didn't have diapers on, and withdrew the charges against Kneecap. This is all as a result of the courage of Kneecap, the courage of Palestine Action, and the courage and the principle of Bob Vylan, who raised the stake from Free Palestine. He raised the public discourse from Free Palestine to death to the IDF. And now the ceiling is higher, and anyone under him is safe to say what they want. And now we all should be supporting Bob Vylan to make sure that there is actually somebody who will raise the ceiling even higher, so Bob Vylan can not be prosecuted by the authorities in the UK.
There's a saying, what is it? There's a saying in the US, amongst hip hop artists. It came from years ago. There was a group called Q Live Crew that were like nobody, and they put out this song, and it had sexual orientation, and it was banned, and it sold 2 million copies in a week, right? And then so they put out another song called Banned in the USA, based on born in the USA. It was banned in the USA, 2 more million copies in a week. And hip hop artists always say, if you want to sell a lot of records, get it banned, right?
Yeah.
And that's a reality. Is this the Zionists and the imperialists are so stupid that they don't understand that people are angry at them, that people don't agree with them. And the one thing they can do to make something blow up and go crazy is to tell everybody, you can't watch that. Shut that down quickly. Because it's like somebody saying, whatever you do, don't look over there. Everybody's going to go, where, over where? Because human beings have to see what they don't want us to see. And when they said, Oh no, you can't listen to this, especially young people. You can't listen to people saying death to the IDF. We're not allowed to say what? What is it? We're not allowed to say. They're going to get T-shirts, hats. They're going to scream. These people are idiots. Thank God for making my enemies fools, as they say, right?
Yes, and you know Rob Stewart. We all well know Rob Stewart. Okay, like we Rod Stewart, like we love his music from the 80s and 70s. We're old, okay. So for
Yeah.
those who are listening, but he was a conservative man. He wasn't anywhere cutting edge. He was a capitalist. He always spoke about making so much money and so on. Rod Stewart just came out saying Israel is committing genocide in Palestine. The courage to have that only can happen because of Bob Vylan pushing the envelope so far. And Bob Vylan is supposed to be touring the United States.
It'll be huge. It'll be huge.
The Zionists are now telling the American government to, pull away his visa and ban him from entering the U.S. And that little mouse, Marco Rubio, says he's going to be working on banning him from entering the U.S. Right? So, so
They
look
have
at
to.
that. They can't.
They have to. They have no choice. I'd go. And gee, I wonder what the crowd will be chanting. He doesn't have to say a word. You know what the crowd, before it even starts, you know what the crowd will be screaming at the top of their lungs. The government has told them they can't say that. Especially young people have said, you're not allowed to say this. They'll have T-shirts, hats, banners. They'll be screaming this. They have no choice now. The government is at war with its people. And its people are saying, no, this is interesting.
Yeah, and there's already like the demonstrations in Australia over the weekend. The number one chant was not free Palestine, was death to the IDF. This is why those cowardly tools of cops in Australia beat up that Green Party candidate. And now she's going to lose an eye because she was chanting death to the IDF. So this is, coming out of hand. It's going off the rails, and there's bigger and bigger possibilities of violence being meted on the populations in the West by their Zionist leadership than any moment before, because they're getting desperate. But I think people should keep on pushing. We are almost at the finish line. When death to the IDF becomes a norm on this across the globe, the next step is the collapse of the Zionist colony. The next step is death to the Zionism, and this is going to be normalized. So people should keep on pushing the envelope. Don't give the Zionists one moment of rest.
Yeah, we see this. Bob Vylan defend Glastonbury chant. I said what I said. And we see Palestinian flags everywhere. Look at this. Wow. The crowd's going berserk.
Yeah, he was singing there a song. I watched the whole performance because I didn't know what kind of music.
I never heard of him before.
He had like 3,000 followers on X. Okay, he has now hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram specifically because of this. But he was singing there a song called "You Don't Want to Lose Your Country." Okay, so he's talking to the white supremacists that keep on talking about losing their country to immigrants, right? And the mainly white youth that were listening to him were singing every word he was singing. And they carried him in this, surfing on top of the crowd as he's, chanting about this. Look, the youth in the West, the new generation, no matter what cultural background they come from, there is so much hope in them. These white kids that are carrying this man after he was, with his comedic song about you don't want to lose your country, shows you how they understand this human emotion, that we are all connected, that there is elite in the UK that are trying to pit one community against another, all to support Israel. So the end of Zionism is coming. The control of the mass media is gone, 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 gone. There's no coming back for the BBC or CNN to try to control the opinions of the public. And Bob Vylan, a unknown performer, has more say, and his words have more weight on the minds of humanity than the combined mass media in the West.
Yeah, you know, here's the other problem. There's a huge problem that they have. And I know the youth now. One of the things that is kind of really ubiquitous throughout, you know, the Gen Zers or whatever their society, right, is this one: I want to be famous. I want to be on Instagram. I want to be on TikTok. I want to get 1 million followers. I want everybody to know my name, all these kinds of things. And if you're a young guy, you're a hero like this. All the girls want you. Everything you could ask for is at your feet if you're famous, right? The money's great. They want the fame, right? If you are a young rapper, singer, whatever, right? Now, and you look at this and you're like, nobody knew who the hell heard of Bob Vylan? Not me. If somebody said, hey, what about Bob Vylan hip hop? I don't know, some schmuck I never heard of, right? Everybody's going to look at this and say, man, I know how to get big. I know how to get famous. Let's be honest, even the ones that don't necessarily believe in it or whatever, don't know that much about it, now they're going to be like, there is a path to fame and power and getting me 1 million followers and this, and there's a path to everything. And they will immediately go out. There are people writing songs right now. I will guarantee you there are young artists right now sitting in their little flat writing a song, coming up with the hip hop song, all of these things about whatever, something about Zionism, death to the free Palestine, the river to the sea, all this kind of stuff, saying, I know good and well if I get this song out there, especially if they arrest me. I want them to arrest me, maybe beat me up a little bit, get a little few bruises, all of that. Boom, I'm famous. I'm going to make it rich. I will guarantee you that's how youngsters, there's not all of them. I guarantee you there's a bunch of them thinking that right now. And they're right. They will be huge and powerful if they do that. That is the fastest road. Let's be honest. I mean, the right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not judging it one way or the other. That is the fastest road to fame and power right now for a young artist, is to go over the top and do some hip hop song about the Palestinians freeing them or something like that. Boom. And the more, what else they learned was this: the more outrageous, the bigger hit it'll be.
You know, isn't it ironic? I mean, the Zionists practically own all the music labels, right? We saw a list of all the Zionist music label directors in the UK that were trying to hunt down Kneecap and deplatform them everywhere. It was a ridiculous list. And you know, the Zionists used to throw money at every artist that want, you know, to get them to come to the colony and perform there during the BDS heydays. You know, it was really hard to get one artist to boycott at the time. Today, the Zionists can't get any big name artist to stand by them, no matter what money they give them. And they own the labels. They have to go down to Azalea Banks, pedophile, to send her to Israel, to, you know, and come back and try to attack Kneecap and, by the way, Bob Vylan. This is how much, even in an industry that they control and own, okay, they are now losing power. A performer like Bob Vylan, Kneecap, do not need anymore a Zionist-controlled platform. And you know, while Kanye, you know, said a lot of things that are crossed the line and are too much, he was right about Jewish Zionist control of the labels that black performers in the United States had to live by. This goes all the way back to the heydays of the Black liberation movement and the equality movement in the United States, when performers that were black trying to put, like Nina Simone and others, trying to put out liberationist music, had what they had to deal with deplatforming. Well, now our brothers and sisters, Black, Latino, in the United States and others that are musicians, go ahead, break the records. Go ahead and carry Palestine in your words, and you will be able yourself to escape the enslavement to Zionist label, record label owners. This is your path. All of humanity's path to liberation, outside even the music industry, is liberation of Palestine and the defeat of Zionism. And that is true also for the music industry that is dominated by the Zionists. This is true also for the movie industry that is dominated by the Zionists in the United States. Start producing films and TV shows that are anti-Zionist, and you will be the #1 streamed TV show on the planet. If you do so, outside even Netflix control, you will be the most watched movie. If you do so, outside Hollywood control, without their cinemas. So the path is forward. Everybody knows it now. Go ahead, ride the wave of Palestine. As a Palestinian, I have no problem with anyone riding the wave of Palestine if they take a radical position that is for the liberation of Palestine and the end of the Zionist colony.
Exactly. One of the things I was getting at, okay, let's say some guy's a mediocre at best rapper and he decides, well, I'm going to make this song, this pro-Palestine song, and his goal is to make a lot of money and get famous. You know what I say? That's okay. That's fine with me. And if he makes money and gets famous, great for him, because it will bring to the attention people who maybe otherwise didn't think about it. It will be a flag for people to rally around. It will have the same effect. Whether or not he's trying to do it for the cause or not, it doesn't matter. If 10 people are holding up Free Palestine flags and 9 of them are doing it because they believe of it, and the 10th one is a Mossad agent, but he wants to sneak into the crowd, that's fine. You know what I'd say? Send 10 more Mossad agents with Free Palestine, because it has the same, flags. It has the same thing. It's not the intent that matters. And I think that's what's happened. This thing is going to build. Everyone who was at that concert, right? I look at the pictures of all of these thousands. I'm sure there are people at the concert that might not have, known the history and known as much about what was going on and all, right? But every one of them, and I'll use the word of the empire, was radicalized. Now, I would argue, using a more of a Zen word, awakened. They were awakened. They say radicalized. I say awakened. But there were plenty of people there who knew, but they felt the electricity of people screaming and chanting and the flags and all. And when they leave, they have a new lease on life because they were part of something. And the feeling like that is so good, they'll want that feeling again, over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, look, the high that everybody was on after Bob Vylan screamed death to the IDF on the BBC, you could feel it no matter where you were on the planet. There is collective human energy. Some people deny that, but our brains are electric waves, and there is magnetic fields, and I studied this thing. It's true. When there's huge tragedies on this planet, it reverberates through us, through these electromagnetic fields, the feelings of those who are living the tragedy. It also, when there is huge successes for humanity as such, and standing up in pride for equality and justice, it reverberates around the planet. And I saw somebody tweet, it felt like as if it was October 8th. The high that Palestinians and the rest of humanity were feeling after the successful operation of the resistance in Palestine, flying those gliders into Israeli bases. Okay, so this success has uplifted the words of a practically unknown artist who took the advantage of being on this mass stage to speak for those who have been silenced. He said the words that everybody's been thinking, but we're too scared to. And he took it and he spoke. And that brought joy to humanity, joy to the world. It's like Christmas, it was, you know?
It was interesting. Just now that he said that, that can't be taken back. Now that he said that, that's going to become a rallying cry. It's going to become you know, he said that, and the government showed, the Zionists and the Zionist supporters showed, oh, no, we don't want that. This was their stupidity. Oh, no, we don't want that. Whatever you do, that's a weapon we don't want to face. And when they did that, all the people who are both Zionists and their sponsor says, thank you very much. You have now told us what your kryptonite is, what your garlic to a vampire is. You don't like that particularly, but they're going to say, not only we're going to give you that, people are going to, as you said, they're going to, you know, people are out here, they'll say far worse just to get attention. People now say, well, how far can I take it to get attention? You know, they'll make videos, whatever. But by showing people that they have a weakness, and I have to say this, it is a weakness. It is a weakness of theirs for people to start to really turn and not just say, we're mad at my government for supporting this. We're mad at this company for McDonald's for giving them French fries. We're mad at this. But to specifically target the IDF, specifically say, that's a group. We know who you are, and we don't like you around the world. If you're a member of the IDF and you're some 22-year-old, 21-year-old, you're thinking to yourself, oh, crap. What happens after all of this is said and done, and I want to go travel, and I want to do this and that? I have to hide that I was ever any part. What if you're a person, one of these Hollywood actors who are, you know, whatever, Gal Gadot, one of these former IDF people? You're now worried. If you're going to hire somebody or put somebody in a movie that's former IDF, are people going to line up outside of the movie chanting death to the IDF? This is a game-changing thing, I think.
Oh, yes, it's a game-changing thing. And you look at how the reaction from the Zionists is so ridiculous. They didn't want people to say free Palestine. They called that anti-Jewish. So now they get death to the IDF. And the stupid Zionists, they don't know what to do with it. So the headlines in the UK was, Bob Vylan calls for death to Israeli children.
I didn't know it was children in the IDF.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know that. Or another headline was death to Jews. You're like, are you saying the IDF are all Jews? Are all Jews in the IDF? Which one is? You know, the level of craziness where they used to call any criticism of the Zionist colony and the actions of the Zionist military as anti-Jewish. It didn't look this absurd, but now it's getting to the absurd. You're saying, calling for the death of the IDF, which is accused by every legal authority on the planet of being a genocidal machine, involved in genocide and targeting of children and unarmed civilians. You're calling that anti-Jewish or a death threat to Jewish children everywhere? This is now, they've crossed the line so far that they have now isolated themselves, not only physically, isolated themselves mentally from any conscious capability of any human being. You know, the words are so apart. One is the IDF, the other is children, Jewish children. They're so far apart that only a fascist or a mentally disabled person couldn't understand the difference between the word IDF and Jewish children. You see how desperate they are and how detached they are from reality. It's beyond repair, I think, for them.
Here's an example, right? I was just looking, so I looked at the Bob Vylan site. Hold on a second. Now he's got the t-shirts, right? And what do we see? Sold out, sold out. I mean, Bob Vylan sold out. You go down here, sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out. Right now, I will guarantee you they can't make stuff with Bob Vylan on it fast enough. They can't make it fast enough because the million people never even heard of him now. But this t-shirt, you can't basically buy a Bob Vylan t-shirt because it's sold out. And I will guarantee the rest of the stuff that doesn't say sold out is going. It's you order it and they'll tell you we'll get it. What they may have said is don't put sold out, just put we'll send it by the millions. I put it like this: if he came to this area, I'd have to buy a ticket. And I'm a little, shall we say, I'm not quite a Gen Zer.
He deserves every penny he gets from this. Good on him. And he's a father, this man. He posted about because all of these attacks came on him, and some fascist from the British Nationalist Front that beat up black people and Arab and Muslim peoples in the streets of the UK went out and put out his name, his actual legal name, not his stage name, and was tweeted, it would be really awful if something happens to or somebody gets him outside his home. So this is now a death threat to this man by these fascists in the UK. And he responded by posting about a story of him being a father and his daughter writing a letter to the school that she goes through about the problem of the lunches in the school, and put it in context of as a person grows and the radical fire dies down, what's their responsibility on a stage like this to inspire the next generation. These are words of a very humanist person who understands their role as an artist, as a musician, how inspirational it is to society and generations. So I believe Bob Vylan is a great father, a great man, a great example for the rest of us that have any platform to take these principled positions and push the envelope further, so our children do not have to live the same awful realities that we are living. We want a better society, and Bob Vylan is actually a hero, not a villain.
Let me show you something to just show you how shook they are, right? So if I search Garland Nixon on X, right, what's the first thing that comes up? Garland Nixon X. Now, X won't even let me access my account, but if I search Garland Nixon on X, the very first thing that comes up is at Garland Nixon. There's my X account, right? Which they won't even let me. But watch this. Let's search Bob Vylan on X, right? Let's see what comes up. Well, what do you know? No Bob Vylan on X. Anytime you search anybody's name on X, the thing that pops up is you can find them on X. But if you search Bob Vylan, what comes up? Bob Vylan's anti-Israel chats. BB says it should have pulled Bob Vylan. You have to revoke Bob Vylan's visa. Bob Vylan, you know what I mean? So Republicans seek to ban Bob Vylan from the U.S., all this stuff. Okay, but what doesn't come up is his actual X account at all. Yeah. Period. Doesn't come up. Can't find it. Okay, so my point is, and I always tell people, you can learn a lot by doing searches. They will tell you what the empire is trying to hide. I can search anybody's name. I can search any movie star, you name it. If you search somebody's name and put on X, the first thing that always comes up is their X account, except Bob Vylan, which means they had to. What does that tell you? They're horrified. They're like, oh crap, what are we going to do? If we let people search them, there'll be like millions of people. So what are they doing? They're doing everything they can to try to stop this. That only makes it, you know what I mean? You know what? You're only making it worse. The
And you know
more
that must have come as an order directly from one of the executives of Google, directly to the guys, the department on the search engine, to say right now, don't allow this to be one of the results. These are the same executives that we were talking about early, about spending their money, wasting the money of their shareholders in building factories in the Zionist colony. Their day is coming. There's no going back from this. Every criminal CEO, executive in any of these corporations, in the music industry, in the computer and AI and search engines, all of them, their day is coming. They're gonna see their comeuppance, as people in the south of the US would say.
I think you're right. Well, thank you very much, Laith Marouf. Before we go, this is critical for those who enjoyed this, etc. For those who want to be a part, freepalestine.tv. That's right. Excuse me, Free Palestine TV. In order to get there, the actual website is freepalestine.video. As I said, we always show this. Look at that. I mean, lots of videos. You got your latest episodes, your field reports. You got military operations going on. And of course, most importantly, if there's any way that you can help to fund, you donate to Free Palestine TV. You've got one time, even if you can only do a little bit. Let's say you don't have much and you can do $5. You can do it monthly there. And if you can only do a few dollars, whatever you can do, set it for monthly, and it'll be a big help. Also, share this on all your social media platforms. Make sure you share this. And when you share it, recommend to people that if they can afford to, that they donate also. Because, we all work together in this alternative sphere. Yeah, the BBC and CNN, these people are making millions of dollars, fair enough. But, we don't have that option here on alternative media. But what we do have, we got millions of people in the chat. We got millions of people watching, millions of viewers, and all of them have social media accounts. And that's you, everybody watching it. So share this on all your social media platforms. Follow me on Telegram and Instagram or X, all that kind of crap if you can afford it. Donate. Most importantly, freepalestine.tv. Also, look, I got a PO box now, so if you want to send a letter, a card, whatever, you can mail it directly. Some people don't like to do stuff online. They're a little paranoid with good reason, so you can send a letter or something to me, anything you want, on my PO box. Laith, thank you very much, and keep up the good work at freepalestine.video. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. Share this. Don't forget, we're out.